The meeting will come to order. We take roll call first. We have our trustees. Here. Our treasurer, I'm not sure what the status is on the treasurer unless the director knows. Oh, I forgot. I'm
Treasurer,
sorry.
the treasurer will not be making it.
I meant the business manager. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
The business, yeah, she's not going to make it tonight.
Very good. Okay. We have our director. We don't have our assistant director today here. Don't have our business manager today, and council is expected. And we have our communications and marketing manager here. First, we have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
which stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, since it's unlikely that everyone will remain here until the bitter end of the meeting, I would like to say, as we await the arrival of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Christ the King, on behalf of the board, I'd like to wish everyone a joyous Christmas. Next up we have is I would entertain a motion to amend the original agenda pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-204B. All those in favor? Well, I need somebody to make the motion.
So moved.
Very good. It has been moved to amend the original agenda pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-204B. Actually, 274-4B. Yes.
So I don't understand what this is. They both had,
Well, this is the motion's out. Okay, go ahead.
they both had B. What was their?
There's an F, there's an extended, it goes farther out. If you look at it's 1B and F in the item number 17.
So we're doing two executive?
Two different, yes, that's correct.
One is B and F and the other is just B?
That's correct. Okay. Any discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
You got all those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Speakers will state their name and community and speak for no more than 3 minutes. Persons addressing the board are expected to observe a level of civility and decorum appropriate for a public meeting. No personal attacks or disruptions from the audience will be tolerated. And we have one person signed up today, Michelle Lippert from Post Falls.
Good afternoon, board. As the chair said, Michelle Lippert, Post Falls. You've recently received a letter from a national organization, the Right to Read Foundation. I would like to summarize their arguments. The Right to Read Foundation urges the board to reverse the restriction of 140 titles and return them to open shelves. This is not about a single book. It's about access, constitutional rights, and the role of the public library. When a public library restricts access to books based on political, social, or religious disagreement, it becomes content and viewpoint discrimination. Courts have been clear. Library boards may not restrict access to books simply because trustees object to the ideas in those books. Recent cases in Arkansas and California reaffirm that public libraries must uphold the First Amendment rights of all users. Your current materials selection and acquisition policy place content decisions in the hands of trustees rather than trained library professionals. This shift increases legal risk and undermines the professional standards libraries rely on to serve diverse communities. Libraries work best when professionals select materials and individuals choose what to read. Idaho's House Bill 170 is already being challenged in federal court because it creates the very First Amendment violations, which are now occurring here. The state is paying legal fees, and if it loses, taxpayers must also pay the plaintiff's fees. Other communities have paid heavily for censorship. An Alaska school district settled for $89,000. Crawford County, Arkansas has spent over $420,000. That money could have supported books, programs, and services, not lawsuits. We urge you to restore access to the 140 restricted titles, return collection decisions to library professionals, uphold the First Amendment, and protect taxpayers from unnecessary legal exposure. Please choose access over censorship and return those books to the shelves. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who did not sign wants to speak? Okay. That concludes public comment section. Our agenda, the sign up sheet. All right. All right, we're now on the consent agenda, item number 5 on the agenda today. Everyone get a chance, I assume, to look over the consent agenda. Open to discussion or comments, questions, changes. No one? Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Trustee Fox.
It's only one thing on the item, which is the minutes. I think this particular item only has the minutes of November 20th. Sometimes there's several.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion on these, the minutes are approved or accepted. Next item. Let me see here. The financial statements. So next up are the financial statements, and they have been amended somewhat recently with a new business manager. So they're in compliance with Government Accounting Standards Board, the GASB. So we're now open for discussion, questions, commentary on the financial statements. Trustee Robinson.
So, Yasmin, what's her last name? Harris. Harris.
Yes, yes.
I don't have my glasses on. Yasmin Harris, she's not here. So we can't really ask questions about the new version, right?
Question or a statement?
I don't know. It's like.
Oh, if you have questions,
There's questions,
we can-
but, because I do have a question, like the top right of this little thing here, I would love to know what that's all about, but nobody, I believe, can answer that because she's not here.
If the board wishes, we can have the assistant business director respond. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I'll be taking any comments that you have and bringing them back to the business manager, and she can answer next month. But I can answer that question. Basically, in the past, you've seen 400, 401, and 403 because we've split them out separately, so you understand the property tax relief is separate from the property taxes. And so she tried to give you a visual. Basically, the $12,695.18 is what was received for property taxes, and we did not receive anything in November for property tax relief or state homeowner tax relief. So that equal sign just shows you all three together, because when you look at your financial community library network budget versus actual for the what used to be called the income statement, we're now using proper terminology for government. And so that 400 You'll notice 401 and 403 are missing because we haven't received anything yet. But as we receive that, you'll be able to see all three of those totaled together.
Trustee Robinson.
Okay, so eventually, since 401 and 403 are on the explanation sheet, it's also gonna be on this sheet?
Eventually, when we start receiving money in those categories, you'll see them show up on that.
Okay, and then, so these little blue boxes will always be part of this now?
That is my understanding.
Okay, thanks.
So will the GL codes that have zero disappear, or they just, I would think they would just stay on this thing even though they're absent any activity.
The accounting software, when we export it, if there wasn't any activity, it will drop it off.
Okay. Trustee Boss.
So just a couple of comments. I don't know if there's an answer,
You got
but
your mic on?
430, URD closed, 4586. I'm a little perplexed why the URD can't get their act together. It was a year and a half ago that it closed. I don't know why we're still getting money, and if it's the same URD, maybe that could be answered later. 610 and 612 collection, physical in particular. I see it's up 29,000. Are we, maybe this is more for the library director, but are we beginning to buy more books now? Are we finding some of the books that CIN had and we're wanting to, and we're buying them while we have a chance? Because that's 26% or almost 27% for the year. Ready?
Did you want the director to respond?
Yeah, and then the electronic, I'm more interested in physical collection, getting the books on the shelves, but why have we spent so much on electronic already? But yeah, that would be for the library director.
Yeah, I'm assuming you can hear me. It's going to be a little bit top heavy as we try to rapidly fill some of the CIN things, some of the gaps. So yeah, there's a definite initiative to purchase a little bit more rapidly at the outset of the fiscal year in order to accommodate that. So that is the reason for that percentage at this time. I don't, in the narrative, I'm not sure. Again, I apologize, but it's just an awkward situation here because the new business manager and I haven't really had much time together. She came on, and I'm on vacation, and then I come back. I think she's on vacation for a bit. So when January hits, everything should be able to settle a little bit, but we haven't had a chance to really sit down together all that much. So if you go to the narrative, it talks about the 610 and 612. I don't. I might be an error. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but there was no intention of supplementing electronic with iCrimp, so that's a little bit misleading there. So I wouldn't say that the 612 averaging budget deficit as expected is as applicable. Collection of 610 definitely. It was expected that we would spend more upfront out of the gate to accommodate the dissolution. And then obviously we've always talked about supplementing iCrimp on that line, but 612 shouldn't technically say that. We're not going to be supplementing electronic with iCrimp funds because our focus is physical. And we'll just see how the year. This is the first time we've spent money on our own for electronic that wasn't part of CIN. So that 50,000 is something we're going to have to assess over the course of the year. But anyway, I hope that answers the question.
Other discussion on the financial statements? It's Trustee Boss.
If, can I go on to the, I guess it used to be called the balance sheet.
It was the balance sheet, now the
Yeah.
statement of net position.
It could be called balance sheet on all accounts. I would like the director to explain on the footnote on page 2 of that, 159,000 the director's discretion, improved employee benefits. Why is it director discretion and not the board, and what's going on there with that?
Yeah, I can answer that. It was going to be part of my director's report. If you want me to do it now, I can. It'll significantly shorten my report, but it's up to you. I was planning to talk to that, so.
I wouldn't mind if we cover it now since we're on financial, if that doesn't.
right.
Something here.
Okay, so I mean, there's two parts to that discussion. I guess one is the more complicated one, which might be best when the business manager's back regarding, although the assistant that's there can also speak to it if necessary. But the idea of the restricted funds becoming unrestricted and then them being available. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The second piece is why the director is using that released funding that was previously and incorrectly restricted for benefits. So first of all, why can the director do it? The director can do it because in the policy it says ongoing annual contracts such as health insurance are exempt from the $50,000 requirement. So the director under the financial policy is not allowed to spend on contracts that exceed 50,000 annual aggregate amount, except for ongoing annual contracts such as health insurance, which this is. So the implication being that the director will likely spend more than 50,000, maybe 75, maybe 80, maybe 150, but obviously more than 50,000 if it's an ongoing annual contract such as health insurance. So when faced with the renewal of our health insurance this time around, I think in fiscal year 24, we budgeted 374,736. And in 25, we budgeted 375,097. And then for fiscal year 26, we had budgeted 348,385. And that was probably a change. I have to go back and talk with Michelle, but that was probably a change based on actuals, an average actuals over the last few years. So we reduced it a bit. But in fact, that was probably oversight. Probably should have been increased, because the bottom line is when we got the renewal was for 473,700. So I was faced with a difference of $125,000 to continue with staff benefits. And under that situation, I talked with my assistant director and we said, well, we're not even happy with the benefits we have because we fall short of pretty much all our competitors. And so we shopped around and we found a better benefits package, which came in at about $119,000 difference. So, and of course, this is the time of year when we have to renew these things. So we went forward with changing our benefits package to bring us more up to a competitive level with industries, like other organizations. And so that's the reason. And then the director thought that this would be a great opportunity to make use of funds which were recently unrestricted, which were internal funds, which were originally designated, albeit incorrectly, as restricted for the benefit of the district, like by location, or as opposed to some of the other things in that footnote which speak about adult service programming and youth programming. So anyway, we went with a new Regents Blue Shield of Idaho. Cost us $119,532 more than what we had budgeted, so we needed that funding. And just to give you a comparison, in fiscal year 25, we didn't provide our benefits were not as good as Meridian Library District, City of Post Falls, CDA School District, State of Idaho Employee Benefits, City of CDA, all of which offered vision, a multiple array of voluntary options, including and also life insurance, which we didn't do. So we upped our game as far as what we offered our staff. We have added vision, which we never had before. We've also added employer-funded group life insurance, which we didn't have before. And we added some voluntary life insurance. Only one voluntary package, whereas Meridian, for example, has 8 voluntary options in their package. So anyway, long story short, it was funding that was available. The director has the ability to do so. It was internal funding that was released through the finance department. And the decision was very urgent and that this is the time that we do these renewals. And so we move forward with it.
I'd like to comment on it. I'm not sure if I 100% on this, but if I got it correct, we had a lot of line items that comprised the restricted fund. It was thought that a lot of things were restricted, earmarked for specific things, whether it was from grants or other sources of money. And then as the business office, I assume that the ones went through carefully and looked at those line items, it was discovered that those line items are actually, they're not restricted. And so it, if I understand, it's how it's evolved. Then they became unrestricted, and suddenly there's more money, let's say, available to be spent. Now, I'm not sure, I have to go back, I don't carry the financial management manual around with me, but I believe that allows the director to sign off on contracts to exceed 50,000. But that money was not, this extra money here, this $159,000, was not in the budget, meaning we might have the money, but we didn't budget that extra $159,000 for that line item, which I believe is 510, I think. Is that the medical and dental benefits? So I'm at a loss a little bit. Normally we talk about putting more money into different line items, right? It's coming out of somewhere other than our regular budget. And so I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. I kind of think that the board should have been involved in that decision to utilize $159,000 and change. So I'm not saying it's a bad use of the money, but I think that the board should have been involved in it. I don't know. Trustee Plus.
Yeah, I had wanted to talk about this at the last meeting, but the other board members wanted to move on, so I was outvoted. But, was a little concerned, I guess, two points is, we snuck in an extra 119,000 into line 510, and we carefully went through the budget, tried to eke out, $1,000, $1,000, $2,000 changes just to make the budget work for our 2% increase. And now that line item just went up 119,000, which is more than 2%. So we would have, for this to be sustainable, we're gonna have to raise next year 2% in addition to whatever we're gonna raise, or we're gonna have to cut 2% out of something else. I don't find that sustainable. And the second thing is, we were, I would speak at least on my part from the board, I thought there was a salary survey that had been done, and I don't know if it included benefits. I thought benefits were part of it, but how could we be so behind the times and not be competitive when we had the salary survey and we're giving the increases that it recommended? How could we be missing this so much and no one brought it up in an earlier meeting? The benefits were so archaic. Frankly, I think there should have been a survey of the competition here. You mentioned City of Post Falls and some library down at Meridian, but what the local market, what is does the county offering vision? Is the county offering life insurance? What are the other city libraries? Basically, our employees, if they want to live in this area, could choose to leave CLN and go to Coeur d'Alene City Library or something. And we need to be competitive, so they don't want to leave because we're not competitive. I don't think we should be comparing to Meridian or some of these other things, but so I guess my bottom line is this, I don't think I would say it was done incorrectly because we budgeted for that line item. If there was extra money found, that line item shouldn't have been changed without board approval. Because basically we have changed a budgeted line item. And I don't think the director has the right to change a budgeted line item. And the second thing is I don't know what, it's put us in a bind. I don't know what we're gonna do next year. We're gonna go back and drop those benefits. Are we gonna cut books? We're gonna cut employees? I can't tell taxpayers, oh, we're gonna raise it 3% and also go back and get 1% because we didn't take it last year. So we're really gonna raise it 4% just because our employees want to have vision care and life insurance. So that's a no-go. We're not gonna go raising 4%. And I know I'd like to hear what other trustees think, but sounds like it's already been done.
That is a question I have. Is this money already been obligated? Do we sign off on a contract of sorts for benefits? As a visit director.
Yeah, I mean, I think the crux of the matter is that if the board's uncomfortable with what happened, that shouldn't have been in the policy. As far as the director is concerned, if the statement says that he can deal with ongoing contracts for health insurance over 50,000, I don't know whether I should be feeling concerned about myself at this moment because I was allowed to. There's no question whatsoever. We can't really be debating whether I was allowed to, because in the policy it says over 50,000. I mean, the 50,000 doesn't apply to health, specifically to health. It's actually specifically mentioned in the policy. So that's one thing to think about. The second thing is that it wasn't a question of a change in the insurance. We were actually faced with a renewal for the exact same. We would have had to pay 25% more to still not have vision. So what would have happened was we would have renewed, and we haven't really made a change to the budget line. What will happen is that's going to go over budget, right, to the tune of what the renewal would have been. So I took this opportunity to say, well, I'm not going to renew for a really poor benefits package, which we didn't have the money in the budget for, right? So if we need to go back again next year, the onus is going to be on me and the business manager to be able to present a budget again, like we did this time, right? And only ask or expect 2% or whatever, and make it work. If we have to go back to the staff at that point in time and say, hey, we have to change our benefits, to me, that could have happened this year, where we could have said, oh, sorry, we can't afford the $125,000, 24% increase that Blue Cross is asking for. So we're going to make that change now. We can do that next year too. So again, I'm failing to see some of the urgency of this discussion, but I'm certainly open to a change in the policy. If you want the director to not be able to make decisions about health insurance, then yeah, just change that contract paragraph. I think Trustee Ploss wanted to change the contract paragraph last time. So by all means, I'm happy to follow whatever policy the board creates. But I don't feel like I should be in a position of feeling a little bit, like I did something wrong, because it's obvious I did nothing wrong, because the policy actually allowed me to spend more than $50,000 without board involvement for health insurance, ongoing annual contracts. The implication being that it's not going to be 60,000, it could be 100,000, it could be 200,000. It's over 50, and it doesn't have a cap on the other end of the policy. So there's that. And then again, it's not really. If I want to keep working for the CLN, I'm not going to come next year with a proposal for a budget that that exceeds the 3%, or even trying to trick you guys to giving me 4%. I'm going to come again. I expect maybe 2, maybe 1. I'll present, like I did this time, 3 different options. I'm going to make it work.
Concerns me is just the process as to how it transacted and how it went about, because as you said, if the current benefits cost went up by $25,000 and it wasn't expected, that comes up to $87,000. This increase is $159,000. So we have an enhanced benefit package, which on the surface isn't evil at all.
No, that's not right. It was 125,000. The 24 was a percentage number. The renewal for the exact same program was 24% increase. It was $125,315 difference. So I shopped around for a better program, a better benefits package, and paid less than if I just swallowed the renewal and ended up going over budget 125,315.
I don't question the director's ability to sign contracts regarding benefits that are over $50,000. But I do question signing a contract for an amount of money that greatly exceeds the budgeted line item. I think that should have been a discussion here and say, hey, folks, to us, to the board, we need to take some of this newfound money and decide how we want to apply that to the budget. Which line items do we want to apply that to, or do we want to leave it or carry forward, or what do we want to do with that? That's my opinion on it, but if it's obligated already, I don't know that it's sustainable either, unless we can find other ways to cut things and we get next year's budget. It's pretty hard to swallow another, that's as a 3% increase all by itself, I think. Right? Yeah. Trustee Robinson.
So, when we make the budget or approve the budget, that's before, insurance renewal happens or, comes up that time frame. So I'm just wondering if there was any forethought of thinking about looking at what the insurance premiums were gonna go up, like you said, the 24%. Or if you just generally wait until that time and then look at the insurance, because since we do the budget kind of on the year before's amount for that line, what we pay for insurance the year before, medical insurance. That's what you do, right? But I know that medical does go up pretty much every year. And this year was very strange. And hopefully, because I know Regents kind of like, they are having some issues with Kootenai, so hopefully that was a good decision. But I'm just wondering, like, when we make the decision on the line item for the medical, do we need to start just adding a little bit more percentage-wise every year, just thinking that the medical is gonna go up in December?
Good question, I think, but I don't know how far in advance they can get an estimate of what the medical or the benefits package would be going up, but that should certainly be, in my opinion, factored into somehow the budget proposal that comes to the board.
Well, I think the director did hit the nail on the head. That contract paragraph needs to be corrected. That would have at least had us have a special meeting or something to approve it so that we were involved. So I had a number of edits to that paragraph, but more towards the legal representation or our legal counsel. But I would like to get that. I don't know if it's urgent now, but we skipped over that paragraph and said we'd come back to it. So I have confidence that somehow or another the director will find a way to make the budget next year work, but I'm really concerned about all that we've got going on with with the lease. I'd like to put off the lease. We can talk about that later, but I'm really not feeling good about talking to other people who supported me and telling them we're gonna raise your taxes to the max, and you're not only gonna get a lease, you got, the better benefits than they've ever had, and now we're gonna have a whole bunch of extra space to have more meeting rooms. That seems like that's the future of Post Falls Library, is more meeting rooms. I don't think anybody wanted any of that. So I'd like us to think about all of this.
Okay, Other comments, trustee comment?
It was gonna be more money no matter what, correct? So it didn't matter, you went and shopped around because the amount of money was gonna go up no matter what, so we wouldn't have been budgeted correctly no matter what, correct?
Yeah, yes, I think there, I mean, if we're gonna dig deep into different problems and where we might have missed the boat, we probably should have projected, the percentage was a 24% increase in the renewal, which we wouldn't have thought of doing, but we probably should have done a 10% or maybe 7% increase instead of we dropped it a bit. But between fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, we didn't increase it. It was 374,736, and it was 375,097. I don't know what percentage that is, but it's not much. So we increased it a little bit. I'd have to go back historically, see what you guys have done here, whether you increased health insurance. It doesn't look like you did increases of 7%. That's what I did. Like I added 7% to like insurance and to a couple other maintenance lines and stuff. But I don't know, for some reason, this one must have just followed the historical trend of not increasing it enough. But I wouldn't have imagined having to increase it 24%, which is what the renewal came in at. So.
Other discussion, comments, questions regarding the financial statements? Hearing none, I have a motion, I assume, to approve the financial statements for the period ending November 30th, 2025.
I'm going to approve the financial statement for 2024.
It's been moved to approve the financial statements for the period ending November 30th, 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Guys have it. The motion is passed. The financial statements are hereby approved. Next we have is the director's report.
All right, well, this will be brief. I prepped all that stuff to talk about the benefits. Other big issues, what I've been working on mostly is the strategic plan. The retreat day went really well, I thought. Got great feedback from the staff, both that day and afterwards. So it was quite a positive thing. They don't think they'd ever been involved like that before, so they were very happy for that day. But I just received the report from the facilitator only 2 days on the 16th. So I haven't had a chance to really go through it yet, but what will happen next is the strategic plan team will meet. That's made up of me, the assistant director, communications department, and then some key members who help with the focus groups from various departments. So we're going to meet and we're going to go through the facilitator's product, the report. And my goal is to have a draft just of the text, not the nice finished product, but a text draft for the board at the next meeting. Hopefully we can get something together and circulate it again with the board and the staff just to get final feedback. But anyway, yeah, ultimate goal is for the January regular meeting to have a draft of just the text so that board can see that, approve it, and then the rest of January I work with the marketing department to turn that text on paper to a nice product, a polished publication with an accompanying PDF version. So there's quite a bit of that work to be done afterwards. But and the communication, the marketing department is also working on a publication of the data. I know a lot of people have been asking to see sort of the raw data. Unfortunately, the raw data comes in, it's all in different locations and different formats. So marketing departments will be working on something we can post on our website so people can see the data that came in behind the scenes, so they can see that correlation with the final products. Another item, I'll be sending the board a contract for the WAN and internet service contract, so wide area network. That'd be FatBeam. It's in legal review right now, but I want to bring it to the January meeting. I actually want to give it to you quite far ahead of the January meeting, so hopefully a week or two before that, so that we can finalize it at the January meeting, because it's kind of has to follow an E-rate timeline. So the E-rate rep is hoping that we can get this finalized. So as soon as I can, after legal reviews it, I will be sending you a copy of the contract we have. I think it's with FatBeam. That's the wide area network and internet service contract. Other than that, you probably noticed there's some changes to the trustee calendar. I think originally on this meeting, there was going to be a program department presentation, but that changed. So we're still working out where, the official source of information is obviously the agenda that gets published, but that trustee calendar, there's been some slight changes to it when the facilities department will report and when the programming department will report has changed. So I'll reissue that. And I still talk with marketing about how best to put it on the website. It's a little bit fluid though. I mean, again, like I say, the real and official information source is the agenda, but the calendar gives us some sense of what we'll be talking about or what presentations there'll be. So it's a little bit of I'll send that out again. And that's it. That's it for my report.
The director's report that was part of our packet, some of these, I believe some of these histograms of these charts may be a little wacky, a little bit. Like Spirit Lake, for example, it shows October being a lower number in the writing portion of it. It says October 1,905, and November is a much higher number, and yet the histogram shows the opposite. It doesn't seem to reflect the letters are down below. And I noticed a similar issue with regard to the cardholder statistics on the third page there. It says, I don't understand, for the current cardholders, it's got to be, I'm assuming correct, we have more than 1,000 cardholders. That must be, it should be in the thousands, I would assume, much higher. And then the one in green beside it, the comparison scale looks a little off on some of the adults. There should be higher for November, and yet it shows lower in the histogram. And similarly, on the non-resident minors, November is lower than October, yet that's not what I'm seeing reflected in the chart. So not the end of the world, but I don't believe, I think there are errors in that, but it doesn't.
All right, I'll look into that. I'll follow up with marketing and we'll correct it, and it'll be corrected. It'll be in the packet on the website when we switch it out.
Thank you. And I'll make one more comment. I have in the past. Eventually, it'll be good for these numbers, these statistics, to be shown, I would assume, even a year's worth of information, because when I see one place what's comparing one month to the next, it's an awful short trend line to look at. I don't know what it was 3 months ago, 6 months ago. So whether circulation is higher or lower, really in the long term and so forth, I can't see that, but maybe we don't have all the micro data to put that together with yet. Trustee Plotch, Hannah?
Yes, Director, when you were talking about the strategic plan and the process, I was taking some notes. It sounds like you're making a report is going to be made based on all the input that was summarized by the facilitator. And I don't know whether I didn't quite get whether you're just presenting the facilitator's report or you're going to add something to it. But I didn't hear much mention about the trustees' input. And I know I filled out a survey, but when do the trustees get to review this before it goes out as a final report? Because I've got some opinions on that I would like to make sure that are in there. The second thing I was going to ask was on the WAN internet contract. Was there a competitive bid? Because I've asked about this multiple times, and I was told in the past you need to wait till the time of year. But Fatbeam is not the only provider, and there were some companies would have other ideas on how to make a VLAN without having leased fiber lines. But you could use a public internet connection and connect your libraries with VLAN through the public internet. Companies do this all the time. I really would like to see a competitive bid on how to do this instead of just leasing direct fiber between every library, is my understanding. you can answer those two, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so for the first point, one of the access points for trustee input was that survey you mentioned. So that happened previous to the facilitator. And so he took all that data. That's what the day was about. He reviewed all trustee data in front of all the staff data. We talked about everything. And so then he produces a report. That report is what the team is going to work with to create a first draft. I'm hoping to get that draft and again, I'm talking about just the text, right? So the overarching objectives and the goals. And I'm trying to get that to you, to the board ahead of the January meeting. So that would be an opportunity for the board to say, I like this, I don't like this. What does this mean? All that. There's not as much of I mean, we'd love to publish it soon, but if the January meeting, the board is feeding me all sorts of ideas and opinions, and that just moves the publication of it a little bit further down the road. So the board is going to get sort of the final say, but I didn't want to bring to the board a product which wasn't polished enough or finished enough. So the one you're going to be getting will be the result of your initial input, staff input, the facilitated day, the strategic plan team looking at it again, creating what I would consider sort of, like a first final draft or the penultimate draft. And then the trustees again will be able to chime in, and then we would go from there as far as producing a product. So yeah, you'll get, the trustees will get another chance at it. Obviously, we're not going to produce something that you're not happy with. So, and then to the second point, I wasn't too overly involved in my IT person, assistant director, finance office. They've been working quite a bit with the E-rate person. There's an E-rate representative who helps with this. But I do know it did go to, it was an RFP. I think there were 3 bids, one which I don't think qualifies, that left 2. So we went through that whole process, and that's kind of where we're at. So I would probably will be able to explain this better when I'll send it via email to all the board members, the contract that the E-rate person together with our CLN team decided was the best bid. But at that time, I can provide you more information as what the other bids were if you want to get a little bit more of the behind the scenes. But we have gone through that RFP process, and there were competitive bids.
Director, do you know when that renewal date is?
For E-rate, the representative was happy with January. I think the issue, one of the issues might have, I don't, short answer is I don't know the hard date. E-rate was happy with January getting that decision. That was enough lead time. The real challenge, I guess, is if you change the provider, then your lead time is different because of how much infrastructure they might have to change with. But anyway, I'm happy to provide you with all of the data of what the E-rate, they had a chart, for discerning which was the best bid. But again, I don't know an actual hard date as far as they're concerned. I just know that she was happy with, having a decision by mid-January. But we can always, I can go back and find out.
I don't necessarily need a date. I'm happy to hear if it's a competitive bid or RFP out there. I'm okay with it personally, so. Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Robinson.
I don't think that this was mentioned, under cardholder statistics. Because it's current cardholders and new cardholders, but all the numbers are the exact same under both of them.
Yeah.
Did you already mention that as well?
Well, no, but I agree that I didn't understand that the number of,
So
new
along with
cardholders
your,
yeah.
All the stuff you said, I want to make sure that that's
Yes,
pointed out too. So I'm not sure what happened there.
that's correct. Yes, the cardholder statistics on page 3. The whole set of blue charts, they're supposed to be current cardholders. Well, I know we have more than 1,000 or 300 on different numbers there. It's got to be, obviously it's off. So but yeah, they are the same. Both.
Okay, so as long as the staff knows that that's a thing.
Yeah, we'll be correcting that shortly. Yeah, as my error.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Other discussion? No. Okay, that concludes the director's report portion of this meeting. Next item up is request for relocation of materials. I have a short prepared statement on that. CLN recently received 3 requests for relocation of materials. These books were circulated among the board members. Following the materials withdrawal and reconsideration policy, if the recommendation of the director is not to relocate the material, specifically for the reason that it is not deemed harmful to minors, then the case shall be submitted to the CLN Board of Trustees for their review. So that's why we got the books, because I assumed the director had not determined these books are harmful to minors. So the current policy and form is limited simply for us to determine whether or not the material is deemed harmful to minors as described in Idaho law. The board's decision to move the material anywhere within the library other than the mature content collection appears to me to be outside the scope of the board's authority there. We don't get involved in where the books go in the library. So if anyone has any issues with the current policy, again, the material reconsideration one, maybe you can hold off until the next item on the agenda, but that's what we're going to be looking at the policy itself. So unless there's a need for further discussion on the material in question, those 3 books, I'd entertain a motion to agree to the material challenged in the 4 relocation requests is not deemed harmful to minors. Trustee Boss.
Well, we can have your motion and we can, that's what I wanted to discuss.
I don't have a motion yet.
I printed out the new Idaho law and it goes through 18, 15, 17B that used to be the housing bill.
Yeah.
Not very sensitive, I guess, but I don't. It goes into great detail about nudity and sexual conduct and so forth. And those things are definitely mature content. That law was called, was referred to as material harmful to minors. And 2C says basically, or any other material harmful to minors. It doesn't elaborate. So it doesn't have to be mature content collection or mature content. In fact, when we were doing that policy, I objected to that room being called mature content. I wanted it just called material harmful to minors. So we need to not lose our perspective or orientation. I feel it's pretty easy to get disoriented when you're saying, are you going to move a book into mature content? That room is there because there's no place else in the library we can move material that's harmful to minors that minors can't get to. If we move it to the adult section, minors can get to it. So that was the motivation to make that room. And the room is for material harmful to minors. These books were independently 3 separate ladies, I think they were moms, found them in the children's section and they wanted them, they filled out the form, took the time to do it, and they said it's harmful to minors. They're, only 3 out of the whole set of patrons we have, but I think it's really clear that the what's the term that courts use for anyway, our constituents that voted for us feel that kind of material was in those books. They don't want it in the library. So it would be more of or termed as more community, I'm forgetting the term, but anyway, community values. So those are offensive to our community values, and I think we have a strong case why they are, and I think they should be moved to the room that is the only room in the library that keeps the books off limit to minors. Those moms that filled out the form don't want their children to wander down the children's section and find a book like that. And that's what that room is for. So I believe it should be moved to material harmful to minors room, which is called mature content collection by really the wrong name. So that's my position.
Other thoughts? I'm looking at it as the form is filled out. The way the policy is structured, I interpret that to say, we determine whether the book is considered harmful to minors by Idaho statute. If the answer is no, then we basically can decline and basically reject the request from the person that submitted it. And then it's up to the library director if he chooses to move it somewhere else in the library. But I think our job is strictly limited in the way our policy is written up, that we determine, is that harmful to minors, yes or no? And the best I believe is directly by Idaho statute. Other thoughts, Trustee not down, Madison? You got it right this time.
Well, I'm just wondering if there are any legal parameters to that section 18, 15, 17B2 and subsection C, any other material harmful to minors. Could be interpreted as anything, or you know, maybe there are some narrowing legal parameters on that.
I saw another hand in a minute. Trustee Robinson.
In the past, when we had reconsideration forms filled out, and it was the staff, and then if it did come to us, we would get a typed up reason the staff said yes or no. And I'm just wondering why we didn't get one this time.
That could be the director if he wishes to respond.
I'm not sure, that must have predated me, because the 16 that we had, which we decided were harmful, don't end up going to the board. So the only ones that have gone to the board since I've been here have been one, there was there was one, and then now a set of 3, and that was it. No explanation was given because it's kind of a negative. We didn't think it was, and so I can provide an explanation why we didn't think it was, but
I don't think that's necessary.
It's the opposite of before.
Right, so the staff, basically, the director determined these 3 books we're discussing, I don't even have them in front of me, those are not seen as harmful to minors, is that correct?
If that's a question to me,
Yes.
I think the challenge here, as Trustee Ploss has brought up, is that as far as the director is concerned, when we're talking about harmful to minors, that term is a legal term bound to the code. And even the door of the mature content collection references the code, I think, if I remember correctly, how we glossed it. So the stuff supposed to be moved to the mature content collection should be violating the code, the graphic sexual stuff explicitly expressed in the code. If we're going to start taking that little C in parentheses there, which says and whatever it says, I don't have it in front of me. Anything else harmful to minors? That's going to be for council to chime in and say, well, how is that even defined? As far as I'm concerned, the mature content collection is strictly for material which breaks the law of explicit sexual material. And if it doesn't break the law of explicit sexual nature, it's not going to go to that collection, but it can still be moved from the children's area because it could go to the general collection under a Dewey number or whatever that's appropriate for it. So this is where we're at. We're in a different phase of. If we're going to talk about. I know some of you were elected on cleaning the children's collection. The different phases to that. One phase is to clean it of the sexually explicit material that breaks the law in the state. And then there's going to be another phase, which will be, okay, other materials, which doesn't break the law, but the community values say this is harmful, right? I probably would maybe disagree with trustee Ploss that not everything should go in the mature content collection, because there could be community values which say this isn't, this shouldn't be in the children's collection, and that's fine. And we move it to the general collection. And then the parents have the ultimate authority, because we've given the parents the ultimate authority to select whether or not they want their children to have access to the general collection or the children's collection. We can't empower the parents if we don't delineate quite clearly what the collections represent. So a parent who chooses general access needs to realize that these items, that these 3 items, will be in there. They'll be in the general, right? If that's what the board decides. But I think that's an important way to think about it. We do need to think about it, because there's going to be more than just these 3 books, most likely, when we assess the collection and we say, okay, well, what's supposed to go to the mature content collection and what's supposed to go to the general collection.
So Director, in your opinion, in your current understanding of material harmful to minors, do you consider the 3 books that have been sent around harmful to minors?
They do not break the Idaho code.
Okay, there you go. Okay, well, and my understanding is, that means, yeah, okay, thank you. So, even though it's not written up, okay, so you would not put these in a mature content collection, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Other persons? I think that answers Trustee Robinson's question. It wasn't answered, so I'm trying to get the answer.
Wondering
It's not
why
written
we're
up.
not getting it. I'm not saying we should. I just was wondering.
And I think in the past, if they were challenged, then if they answered, the staff answered the question, it went back to the submitter. And if they didn't like the answer, I think then it came to us. But we're not there right now with this policy. So, yeah, Trustee Ploss.
It does break the Idaho code. I just read it to you. It's in 18-1517B, which was the new part added last year. And you go down 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, and then 2C says, or any other material harmful to minors. It doesn't say any other material harmful to minors that is obscene, meets the obscene definition from years ago, or meets the sexual content from this new law. It says any other material harmful to minor. That is in the code. And I contend it should be based on community standards, which is what the courts have said over and over, that use community standards for it. We have plenty of evidence that the community standards is representative by the election of the board that we have. People don't want this in the children's section based on community standards, and it's in the Idaho code. Don't say that it's not in the code. Any other material harmful to minors, and it should be moved to a place where the minors can't get it. The adult general section can still be wandered through by minors. Why do I object to this book in particular? It's actually in our one of our policies. We describe that we don't want to promote propaganda to children. These 3 books were clearly propaganda to children. They had LGBT flags. They had gay couples on entertaining. They had gay couples talking to children. It was propaganda, and it was promoting that lifestyle. And the community standards of Kootenai County don't want that. It should be a slam dunk to just go put it in the other room. If you don't agree with me, I would say you're dissing your supporters that voted for you. They don't want this. And it is in Idaho code. Any other material harmful to minors.
Further discussion, other board members? Well, if someone wants to make a motion to either determine yes or no, these books are harmful to minor or not harmful to minor, we can vote on it. And then we can move on to the policy. Trustee Robinson.
And just to clarify, if these books are deemed not harmful, that doesn't mean that the director may or may not move them to an older children's section. Is that correct?
He has latitude to put books anywhere he wants in the library, unless they're books that that we determine are harmful to minors and have, that are required to go into the mature content collection. That's correct. That's my understanding. So do we want to vote with these, are these books, well, the, take a motion, really, but are these books considered harmful to minors by the other members on the board?
Not by-
I don't consider them harmful to minors.
Yeah,
But
not
by
by-
going by Idaho law
Yeah.
personally, I'll give you my opinion now. I've heard different discussions.
Not
What
under
is-
the Idaho law, no.
Others,
I think they're harmful.
Harvey,
I think they're harmful.
and we have two people who think they're harmful to minors. What's the numbers there?
I wouldn't want my child to get these books in the children's section of the library, but I do not know if it fits within the code or not.
The other question is, are they harmful to minors? Harmful to minors is defined, I believe it's in one of our policies, it's right out of them. So, yeah,
If I may say something. If we're using the term harmful to minors, we can't just say it like casually. Harmful to minors has to apply to the law, because yeah, the book can be harmful to minors, but that's not the phrase harmful to minors that we're actually trying to use. The harmful to minors is bound to the law. It's the term of the law. And Trustee Ploss wants to extend that, and that's fine. That would be for council to chime in and say yay or nay. But from the librarian's perspective, we need to, at least if it help you make your decision. From my perspective as the director, it's not a question of whether it's going to be in the children's section. It's not going to be in the children's section, right? The children's section will be cleaned, for lack of a better term, will be cleaned to meet the community standards of this community that I'm trying to serve as the director. Period. End of sentence. That's going to happen. Now, things that move out of the children's section, not everything that moves out of the children's section is going to go to the mature content collection. This is the whole reason why we have a general collection and a broken out card system. You wouldn't even need the broken out card system. So this whole thing has been built up since I've been here in various phases. We won't need this two separate cards for the minors if you just put everything that's lowercase h, not legal, harmful to minors phraseology. If you just move it all into the mature content collection, you didn't need to separate the cards out. The general collection is an adult collection, and I'm using the word adult, and the previous trustee didn't like that word, so we changed the general. Okay, it's the general collection that the parents have to decide whether they want their children to go in there. And that's on the parents. We've been dinged for violating parents' rights, and that's the complete opposite thing that's happening here. We are giving the parents the right to choose which collection they want their child to go to. The children's collection, which will not have anything harmful in it, period. Legal or community value, H word, harmful. But that doesn't answer the questions of where that stuff goes. There's two different discussions. And I just want to make sure that we don't make a decision now, which is going to shape the future of the library, where now everything deemed harmful, whether for community values or legal, has to go to the mature content collection. Because that's a different situation than I think what we had in mind. So that just so we're aware of the parameters of what it would actually mean moving forward. We would need a bigger mature content. We would need more space for the mature content collection than we would need for the general collection.
I'm agreeing with exactly pretty much what the director is saying here. And we do have a term in our policies here. When I say I don't find this harmful to minors, I'm not saying I find these books okay. We have a term in one of our policies that calls it inappropriate for minors, and that was used, and it's in our policy. So I do consider these books inappropriate for minors, but they don't, in my opinion, fail the litmus test of whatever we want to say there. They don't look like they reach the level of being harmful to minors by Idaho law, in my opinion. We're supposed to make a decision one way or the other. I think we were up on our timeline of, I think we had 60 days. We're probably exceeding that already on these. But so I don't know if any other trustees wish to weigh in, or whether council wishes to weigh in. I'm not putting you under pressure, I'm not asking you to. But we should determine, are these books harmful to minors going by our understanding of Idaho statute. And if they're not harmful to minors, then we probably don't belong sending them off to the mature content collection. It doesn't mean that the director can't say these books are inappropriate for minors and put them somewhere out of the children's section. Other people's commentary. Council?
Material and harmful to minors is both a defined term in Idaho Code 1514, sections 7 and 6. Material means anything tangible which is harmful to minors, whether derived through the medium of reading, observation, or sound. Harmful to minors includes in its meaning the quality of any material or of any performance or of any description or representation in whatever form of nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or sadomasochistic abuse when it, A, and B, A, appeals to the prurient interest of minors as judged by the average person applying contemporary community standards, and B, depicts or describes representations or descriptions of nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or sadomasochistic abuse, which are patently offensive to the prevailing standards in the adult community with respect to what is suitable material for minors, and includes, but is not limited to, patently offensive representations or descriptions of one or two, one, intimate sexual acts, normal or perverted, actual or simulated, or two, masturbation, excretory functions, or lewd exhibition of the genitals or genital area. Nothing herein is contained is intended to include or prescribe any matter which, when considered as a whole and in context in which it is used, possesses serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. So when a policy makes a request about relocating a material that's harmful to minors, that is what those 4 words mean. And it's all in there. So when you read it, you would have to reread all of that in the sentence. So if there's any confusion over the definition, you'll find it in the 1815-14.
Yes, sir.
Why was 10 or 1517B, the new code, why was item C, 2C added that says any other material harmful to minors? Why did that get through the legislation? What was their intent? And you're reading, what you were just reading is something from the 1972 legislation that they put in. I'm talking about item C from the new code last year, or maybe it's been over a year now. And it says any other material harmful to minors. And I think community standards are a big part of that. And community standards, we have already agreed we are not doing propaganda to our children. I'd like to know if the library director can tell me who bought those books, who signed the PO, and when were they bought? Why are they in our library? I don't know whether this is a holdover from several years ago under a different leadership, or is this something new that's come in? But anyway, I consider it offensive to the community, and they, obviously, these moms find it harmful to their minors. They don't want their children to see this stuff. It's propaganda, and it's influencing a choice of lifestyle. Kootenai County doesn't want that.
The values of the community versus what the Idaho law says, I don't know. That's where I'm bouncing back and forth. Well, I don't see them as being harmful to minors. I don't like them. I wouldn't buy them. If I had children, I wouldn't give them those books. But we do have a classification in our other policy. We can say this book is inappropriate for minors. It's propaganda, and the library director can decide he doesn't want that in a children's collection and can put it elsewhere. But I'm looking at it saying, does this pass the sniff test of going over that giant threshold of saying this book is harmful to minors as written in Idaho law? And I say they don't. That's my opinion. I find one of the books has no naked people in it, has a bunch of cartoons, no words. Okay, it's not the worst book in the world, but it's not a nice book, so I consider it inappropriate. There's no way it would cross the threshold of being inappropriate for minors by the law the way I understand it, so. We're way behind schedule, by the way. We set a record last month of 4 hours and 15 minutes, and we're well behind. I thought this was gonna be a 5-minute, yes or no, it passes the sniff test or it doesn't. It either harmful to minors and breaks the law, or it's not. If it doesn't break the law, we should make a decision on that. If it does, well, then it goes, and we make our decision. So any other discussions on it? Because I think we need to vote on this. I don't know what the date was on those submissions, but they're supposed to be solved, I think, within 60 days. Trustee Robinson?
So do you need a motion or we just,
I would like a motion, I
I thought we-
suppose.
okay, so I move that what? Because it just says request for relocation of materials.
Do you, I don't have the book names in front of me. Do you want to say that they move that the 3 books that were circulated to the board or considered harmful to minors or not harmful to minors? That's what the director needs to know, so he knows what to do with the books.
I move that the board accepts the decision of the director on a relocation of material.
His decision being not
It's
being
not
used, not
harmful.
fine, yeah, okay. So,
I don't know, usually, the motion is kind of like written out in front of you, but this just says request for relocation of materials.
so do you want to move that the board finds these books harmful to minors, yes or no? Is that where we are?
That sound like a good motion?
All right, it's been moved to, so I'll go this way. All those in favor of saying these books are considered harmful to minors, say aye.
Aye.
We have 2, trustee Plus and trustee Addison. Anyone else? All those who do not find these books harmful to minors, please say, or signify by saying no.
No.
No. Then those have it. The books are considered not harmful to minors, and they'll be returned to the library director for him to finish filling out the form and submitting it back to the patrons that submitted it. Okay, we now are on to the policy or the material withdrawal and reconsideration policy. So we had a policy or have a policy in effect. There were some suggested changes made, I believe, by staff, by the director. And the ones we got in our packets do not have the line items numbered. The table packet, they are numbered. So that way, if we need to make sure we're on the same, not only same sheet of music, the same line item on there, the same stanza, we can do that. So, well, I'll go ahead with, no one has a hand up yet. I'll go ahead with some suggestions here. The way I read this policy right now, it does not allow the director to make a decision on a submission from a patron and send it back. If he thinks that this book is not harmful to minors, it has to go to the board each time. And it's my thought, and I think that's what I see in this draft that was sent to us, that the suggestion on the policy change is that we have the director make a determination, what's the person that selects the books there? Anyway, the staff makes a decision and it goes back to a patron, a submitter, and then if they don't like the response, then it comes up to the board. So we need to, I think, to have here is we need to make allowance for the director to do his job, and we don't get involved in any determinations like we just did now for each book that gets submitted. And then again, it does leave the board involved if the person who submitted the form disagrees with the answer. So I'm looking up at the top bars, and I don't think we need to go through every single line of them in here, but I'm going up to the very first paragraph. And it reads right there, this policy defines the community library network's review criteria and disposition process for material to be, and it goes right into removed from the collection. I think it should be to be relocated or removed from the collection. Because if, for example, a book is deemed inappropriate because it's propaganda or something else, it may not go to the extreme where it needs to go into the mature content collection. So I think we should make the policy reflect the ability to have the staff, once somebody submits it, to relocate the material. So I'm proposing a suggested change there. I want to leave it in context. I'm going to run through the rest of it because not a lot of changes. And then jumping down farther, disposition of materials. There are 3 bullets on there. I think we should add another bullet that says, if the material, you don't have to write it all down, but if the material is considered to be inappropriate for minors, it shall be relocated out of the minors collection. Because that will be in line with our acquisition policy. Not many other changes I have here. And again, I'm running around here real fast here. Page 2, the big bold thing across the center says request for relocation of material harmful to minors. I think it should be request for relocation of material inappropriate or harmful to minors. And I only have, I think, one other change, I think, was that same area, that paragraph. I'm sorry, I'm not even using my numbered one, and I should be helped out. Because my last input food file. And line item 57. And it reads, well, I'll jump halfway through it. Obtains material, or parent or legal guardian whose child obtained material believed to be in violation of, it should be, the material selection and acquisition policy or the provisions of Idaho code, so forth. So I think it gives us my little changes on there. I think that I have 1 or 2 other word changes. That's all. I want to give you a flavor, but I think this policy as it stands now does not give the director or staff the ability to receive a complaint from the public. I'm just going to use a generic term there, the public, a patron, whatever, and to say this book here, no, it doesn't. It's not harmful to minors in their opinion, and yet the policy forces the staff then to submit it to the board, where they could say, yeah, this book is actually harmful. It's not harmful to minors, but it is inappropriate, and they can move the book over and take it out of the children's collection. So those are my quick spin on what I and besides the changes that are already written in here. I'm sorry. Trustee Flash.
First of all, you cannot use the term inappropriate to minor in the reconsideration policy. That was strictly a term that was in our selection policy, and that enabled us to use the definition in the selection policy that is in that policy for inappropriate. So this policy specifically use material harmful to minor because that's what's in the Idaho code. So please don't use inappropriate to minor. Now you're going to be mixing the Idaho code with a little different definition that we have in the selection policy. So we were very careful, and you seem to have forgotten that. We're very careful to make this one only say the words harmful material harmful to minors because it matches exactly, and we're just doing what the Idaho code says. It's called, the policy is called withdrawal and reconsideration policy. So we can't just say relocated. Maybe you can say removed or relocated, but you can't take the word removed because that's what withdrawal means. There may be a reason it's being withdrawn because the book binding was ripped or something. I don't know whether that can go on, but you can't get rid of the word removed because the policy is for withdrawal and reconsideration. The other change that is in here on line 55, removing harmful to minors, that's in contradiction to the title on line 54. Request for relocation of material harmful to minors. And that, I contend in 55 needs to be in there because it's about material harmful to minors, which is the Idaho code. Where the problem is maybe on the form that we're looking at also, it doesn't have the word, it says request for relocation of materials. Maybe it should say materials harmful to minors. But we need to leave the word material harmful to minor, those words in there, because that's in the Idaho code. And I would say we were careful about doing this because two things. One is we had 60 days in the Idaho code, and by the time you give, I don't know how they all add up, but the time you give the staff their time to review it and decide if the board's gonna get involved, it needs to go to the board fairly quickly. And you're going to go over 60 days if it goes back to the submitter. And I don't know if we need to try to fit that into the 60 days too, but that's part of why it was done so quickly. And the other second thing is we had a different library director and different members of the senior staff that might have been involved in this. We may not always have the library director we have now. This was making sure that the board got a chance to look at something that patrons objected to, that the library director didn't object to. And I think we want to retain that. I know it's a pain, but I think we want to retain it. So I'm kind of opposed to getting rid of this, submitting it to the board. Because we may not always have the same library director and it may not always work out the same. So please leave harmful to minor in every place and don't get rid of the word removed. And I guess, and don't add that point down by 34 that you wanted to add about inappropriate for minors. So don't use inappropriate in this policy at all, because that's a different definition in the selection policy.
Other persons, thoughts? Trustee Addison?
I think that we have a director that we can trust to do what's right, and I think it just makes things really complicated if it has to come to the board and just do what he needs to do. I think that should just be on appeal.
I tend to agree.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my second,
Go ahead.
I thought, well, I just was like, where'd that go? That if in the future that we get a different director who has different ideas, then we could just reinstitute that into the policy rather than having it complicated all along.
Thank you. Well, any other hands? Okay, Trustee Robertson, please.
I mean, a lot was said, so I don't know, I'm not gonna address every little change. I guess I will say that I don't know if the chair said to remove the word removed. I thought he said removed or relocated, and I'm totally fine with, I think that's a great idea. I also think that, after the director gives an answer to the person that has the question about the books, I think it should go back to them, and then if they'll know if the director said yes or no. And then they read the policy on how to fill out the form in the first place. So they'll know that they can resubmit it to the board if they want to. So I'm for it going to the person that submitted the form, and then it's in their court. And if they want to resubmit it to us, they can.
Thank you. I tend to agree. We're at a high level as a trustees, and we shouldn't be looking at every book submission challenge that comes in the door here. It's only, in my opinion, if the person who submits that form doesn't like the response that comes back from the director and staff. But I do think that I haven't consulted with counsel on this at all, but I don't see why we can't basically, with very minor changes there, broaden this to allow and accommodate requests that come in. Because right now it does not, if it doesn't, in my opinion here, reading this, it doesn't allow the director to take a challenge that comes in. And if he decides this is not harmful to minors, it has to go to the board. We don't have time to be trying to circulate. People live in Ratham, Post Falls, and who knows where else around here, trying to get these books circulate it in a time frame, and I don't see why, as trustee Plus said, directors come and go, well, so do board members. And so these policies can be reversed someday as well, no differently than having someone we wish to have in a director's chair. So I kind of think it's important to be able to get the flexibility in this thing to say a material comes in and it's challenged, and it is either a violation of Idaho law or it's not. And if it's not, we should allow the director, based upon this thing, it doesn't say you can, to take it out of the children's collection if he chooses to, put that in a response that goes back and say, it's been removed from the children's collection and put it elsewhere. I kind of think my small tweaks in this thing will allow for that. So, trustee Klaus.
If you look at the Idaho code, I've got copies I can hand out here, but the new code, 1815-17B, that was passed a year and a half ago, 3 basically says any minor who obtains material or parent or legal guardian whose child obtained, it goes on what they can do with cause of action. If the institution, A, is if the institution made the material available, blah, blah, blah. B, prior to filing a cause of action, taking legal action, the minor or parent or legal guardian has provided written notice to the school, blah, blah, blah. And about relocation of such material to a section designated for adults only. There's this adults only, and our adult section is not adults only. It's the only place that's adults only is mature content collection. So the selection of the material is supposed to, if it's they ask for it to be relocated to an adults only section within 60 days of receipt of the written notice, and anyway, the institution's library board or board of trustees failed to relocate the material harmful to minors to an area of adult access. They have to do this within 60 days. There's nothing in the law that gives them 2 60 days periods. We were doing this all in one time in 60 days. So the law does not say, if they say no, then you get to file another appeal to the library board. No, after 60 days, if it isn't moved, they can file a lawsuit against the board or against the library. So your policy changes are not compatible with the law. And if they file this form, they can mark on their calendar when 60 days are up. If it isn't moved into the only place it can be moved in our library that's adult only is the mature content collection. And that's why it should be called harmful to minors or adults only or something, not mature content. But if it's not moved in there, you've opened yourself up to legal action. There is nothing in the law that says now you get to start another 60 days of appealing to the board. So I'm opposed to this change. There's no time to come back to the board. It's not in the law. If you're going to do it, you got to make everything happen fast. So the appeal to the board has to happen within 5 days, and everything the board gets to review it all happens within 60 days. There's no 120 days there.
Thank you, Ramos.
I think 60 days is plenty. And maybe we should get a consensus on this so we can move on to the other changes that you or the chair asked for.
Well, I could make a recommendation just because of the timeline. Would we like to just look at the changes that were proposed by the director? And if those are good, at least if we're going to go to the point where we're going to allow the director to make a decision and send it back to the patron, and we want to tweak it further with my tweaks on it, do save for another meeting, just because we already have this edited version, trustee Robinson.
Okay, so the heading, material withdrawal and reconsideration policy. That's reconsideration means reconsidering where the book is housed in the library. Is that correct?
Had to do with reconsidering whether it was appropriate to be in the collection in the library at all. I
I mean,
think
that's the withdrawal part.
I have to go back.
Maybe the director can answer that.
We saw the director.
Yeah, so reconsideration, yeah, I mean, the wording is not great, but withdrawal and reconsideration both refer to removal because request for reconsideration of materials is for us to reconsider having it. The request for relocation of material is moving it around the library. I mean, logically, you could take relocation out of this policy. It's more like an addendum to, like, it's not, the heading is about removal, whether through withdrawal or reconsideration, right? This other thing is called request for relocating the material. It just happens to be in this policy, which is fine. But yeah, the policy is about, initially at the very beginning up to line 54 or 53, is about the removal of material either through withdrawal, which is a library process, weeding, or through reconsideration. And then it gets removed. But this part that we're actually talking about right now is just the relocation of materials within the building or buildings. But again, when I was doing the edits for this, I wasn't taking into account, I mean, it's kind of weird to me that we get all hung up on the days because I'm guessing I get 10 business days, but you guys get 60 days because there's a lot of 10 business days can be quite different over Thanksgiving or whatnot. So if you're trying to get the whole process done in 60 days, then you just need to change the numbers, right? So we'll do a disposition in 10 business days. If they want to do appeal, then give them 5 days to write the appeal, then you guys get 50 days. I mean, you can still do it within 60 days. I've only got 10 days. So you only need to change numbers, and then where it says the decision no later than 60 days from the date of the appeal, you just change that to say decision no later than 60 days from the date of the submission of the form.
Line item for that, please. What line item was that?
That's just, well, basically the issue is 71, line 71. I set it as, yeah, Trustee Ploss is saying I've given them a reset. I've given them another set of 60 days. I don't have to. That's more of a burden on you guys. They're going to submit the form on November 1st, let's say. I get 10 business days to respond, right? And if they don't like that response, we can shorten their time frame. They have 5 days, maybe not 5 business days. They have 5 days. I don't like it in law, and I find this a lot of a couple documents where they switch between business days and not business days. I think that's a bit unfair. I don't even know how to read that. So if it doesn't say business days, that is regular days in the law. But anyway, so yeah, just truncate the days and you get the whole thing done in 60.
No business in the law.
Okay.
60 days.
Well, Trustee Robinson.
Okay, so, and actually, I think, if it's submitted and they do get an answer and the answer is no, we're not going to remove it or relocate it from the director in 60 days, what the law says, that's following the law. And if they want to have us look at it and reconsider the director's answer, we can, but they already got their answer from the actual professional librarian. So that covers the 60 days. It coming to us is like secondary. So we already, I feel like some board members are thinking it has to be thrown out of the library within 60 days. However, if the director says it doesn't qualify to be removed, then he already answered it within that 60 days.
Okay, I'm hoping we're not getting sidelined strictly on these days right here. We have an amended a draft from the director. And if we don't want to have to review these books regularly, we might want to make a change and we can battle over a number of days at another meeting if you wish, but we're going to be getting more, we may be getting more books again, and we're going to be having to circulate them around. And I believe the change that was made, not by me, but strictly by the director, is strictly trying to accommodate them having the ability, meaning the staff, to respond to the person who submitted the form And if the person's satisfied, fine. If they're not, they can appeal it to us. And most likely, they'll make a wise decision. We're not gonna see many appeals, Trustee Robinson. And I'll get back to you, Trustee Fox.
Okay, then I move that the board accepts the material withdrawal and reconsideration policy
With the changes,
dated, there's no date on this, but should I say what date it is today?
Director staff? Let's say director staff.
Director draft, yeah. Okay, so I move that the board accepts material withdrawal and reconsideration policy, director's draft.
Is it moved to accept the director's draft policy? And we have in hand right now. With no vote. Okay, so it's still for discussion. Trustee Fox.
So I've got several copies, but the 60 days in the law says that 60 days, the institution's board, library board, or board of trustees fail to relocate the harmful material. It doesn't say the library director or
It
the
has
staff.
to be deemed.
No,
harmful.
it says upon receipt of notice that there's 60 days until they can file legal action for the institution's library board or board of trustees. If they fail to relocate the material to an adult access only area. So it's,
But
the
that's
onus,
if it's deemed
the
inappropriate.
onus is on the library
If
board.
it's deemed inappropriate, if it's not, then it goes back to the person that's.
They have 60 days from when they turn the form in. If we can get all this done in 60 days, I'm fine. But the library director speaking for the board is not sufficient. We need enough time to have a request to have the board look at it. And if you're gonna do it, it's gotta be in 60 days. It isn't good enough to just have the library director do it. 'Cause the law says-
What is your suggestion? Don't read the law. Tell us what you're suggesting we change.
Either we need to get very specific on the dates, but we need to fit this in where the board can review it within 60 days. Leave it the way it is, or change the numbers so that everything can happen and the board can do it in 60 days. I don't think that's possible.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the changes made as notated on here by the director. Do you have changes beyond that? What would you suggest we change? If you do have anything, we gotta pull this down. What do you want? What are you looking for?
Okay, the library director said that we have to get the number of days changed and I absolutely will vote no on this motion unless we change the days. And I don't know how we make everything happen in 60 days.
If I may,
Please.
all you have to do is say in line 70, render a decision no later than 40 days from the date of the appeal. Because I get 10, they get 10, you get 40. I only get 10 days to make my decision, and I've given them 10 to do the appeal. I could drop their 10 down to 5 and then give you 45. It's not that hard. There's only 3 variables in the equation. X plus Y plus Z equals 60. 10 plus whatever the appeal time is, plus the board's time. So you can change it however you like, but it'd be 10, 10, and 40, or 10, 5, and 45. And none of it would break the law.
We have to get rid of business days because the law says days. It doesn't say business.
Yeah, which is a problem. I love business days, though.
Is it written the way the law says right now?
I only see one.
need to get rid of business days.
Who's mine?
That is line 69.
What are the changes on 69? That's supposed to be 5 days, or is it 10? They may appeal. 5.
And 10 and 40 is fine. I think we can do it in 40 days, right?
Well, would the director rather have 15, 5, and 40? 15 for
Oh, I could
himself?
do, no, I mean, we could do it in 10 business days. 10 business days for us is 2 weeks, so.
We're taking business out though.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
If you give you
Yeah,
15
well-
days up on line 61. Is that where it is?
Yeah, that's
Take
fine.
business out.
Yes.
And then
That's
they
fine.
get 5 days and then we get 40 days. And I'm okay with that.
Can we go through those one more time, please, exact line items and which timelines?
Line 61, written out 10, but it could be written out 15 and strike business days or strike business.
I have changed 15 days for line item 61. What else?
69. It's 5 instead of 10 and strike business. Patron gets 5 days to appeal.
In respect, okay. All right, we have two changes. Line 61, we changed it to 15 days, and line 69, we're changing that to 5 days.
And it seems like 70 should be left 60 because that's the law. That's where that comes in, 60 days from the date, which is actually implied that there's 40, it could be 40 days. So I don't think we should change that from 60, it should be left 40.
Which line? 70?
70,
Leave 70 alone?
that matches the law. The law says 60 days from date of submission. Said appeal, but I think that was the other 71 change appeal to submission.
Trustee Larson?
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say, let's just change the appeal to submission.
I'm losing, are we leaving the 60 days there on line item 70?
You have to, it's the total,
Because that's the way it reads, okay.
Yeah.
but it implies 40.
And that gives us 40.
Okay, so the days are the only things we're changing right now. Is that correct? Line item 61, we're making it 15 business days.
Oh, just
We're
days.
taking out business there?
Yeah, taking out business in those days.
Okay. And then line item number, I want to make sure it's clear so that Megan can keep the minutes straight here too. Line item 69, it's 5 days, not business days.
Right,
And line item number 70, we're leaving alone.
yes.
Except that you're changing date of appeal to date of submission.
Yeah, so that would be line 71.
Yeah, 71. Yeah.
Any other proposed changes? Trustee Fox?
I think on line 55, that harmful to minors should be left. That's the title of the section. This is all about relocation of materials harmful to minor.
If I may say.
Please.
Line 54 is a heading, it's bolded and centered. Line 55, it's in quotation marks, which means it refers to a document, like a title of a book or something. And the title of the document, the form in parentheses, doesn't have harmful to minors in it. That's why I struck it. So if you want to keep it in there, you take the quotation marks and not refer to it as the form. To make 55 right, you have to take harmful to minors out if you're keeping it in quotes and referring to it as the form, which you do in the parentheses. So there's no relationship between the bolded 54 and the quotation mark 55. There's no relationship between those two. One's a heading in the middle of a page centered. The other is a reference to a document.
Understood. I like the draft.
Me too.
Okay. Anybody else not like the draft? Right there on that. All right, one's noted. Trustee Fox doesn't like it. The majority likes it, yes or no?
Well, we can leave it if we change the name of the form. Change the name of the
I'm
form.
fine with what the director said.
Okay,
The
so
name
we
of
got
the form.
we have 4 people agreeing?
Yes.
Therefore, okay, you're overruled.
And do I need to amend my, motion with the new changes?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can amend your own, I guess, yeah. So you wish to, I guess, adopt the changes as proposed by the director, including the 2 other time dates. Okay,
No, never.
that goes down.
Perfect.
All right, other discussion on this? Oh, hearing none? Okay, now, if we approve this, I say we approve this pending review by council. This is a touchy policy.
I don't think it needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, they're not significant changes.
I don't think there's significant either. We haven't gone to my minor changes. I'm leaving mine out right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're good, they're great, but, okay. All right. We'll say it has been moved to adopt the edited version provided by the director, including the change on line item 61 and line item 69. All those,
And 71
and 71, which was
submission.
But I think
I
we're
missed 71.
ignoring 80 through 84. There's another
Yeah.
5 business
Yeah, I know
days.
that's kind of, 71, what was the issue there before we jump?
Take away appeal and put submission.
Steve Glass had another concern before we vote.
We better look at paragraph 80 through 84 there, as we're giving another 5 business days to notify the submitter. And we just told them they're doing it all in 10 days up here on the top.
Yeah, on my
So if
Tom,
we're gonna add that, gotta change some other numbers.
on my Tom draft, I crossed out where it just said, we're at the bottom paragraph, which is
80 through
80, line item 80. It says seal and decision on the disposition of the submitted form, whether made by staff or by the board, shall be implemented by the CLN staff. I say, period. We don't need to duplicate the wording, I don't think, on the form submitter notified decision when it's already up in the top there. And I would cross that all the way through the board's decision is final. It's already up there farther in. My thought, Mr. Levinson.
Well, I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but I don't believe that the 5 days is a big deal because in the law, it says the book has to be removed or relocated within the 60 days, not that the person has to be told about it. It's all about the actual book being moved. Letting the person know about it is like courtesy.
They can sue us on the 61st day if they don't know that we've done it.
I don't know if that's true.
60 days or more.
So it has some also violated the law.
If I may say, line 71 and line 82 are saying the same thing. Line 71 is saying that the patron will be notified of the outcome. And line 82 is saying that the patron is going to be notified of the outcome. It refers to them being notified after the whole thing is done. I'd be fine with it being removed. I don't know whether we need to specify, right? Am I telling the patron on day 60 at close of business day 61, day 63? I agree that it's not part of the law as to when they get notified. So Trustee Hanley's idea of just cutting the sentence is fine with me. We already say we're going to notify them of the outcome.
Yeah, so I was suggesting, after it says, again, line number 81, the board shall be implemented by the CLN staff. I'm saying here, if that works correctly, period, and cross out, and the form submitter notified of the decision within 5 business days, the board's decision is final. All that is duplicative of things that are already in this policy.
Yep.
So are we okay with scratching those?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
All right. Well, I got something off my list, but good. Okay. Other changes? Oh, okay, we're okay. We still had it. I don't know if we need to do an amended, we can do that, but okay. If we're okay, we can just approve it if we want to. Are we okay with approving the changes that were submitted by by the director, including the 2 changes on the lines? I'll go back and make sure this is clear. Lines 61, correct? And line number 69, in addition, scratching the sentence I just read. Is everyone okay with that?
And 71.
71.
And 71, sorry, yes. Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Good.
All those in favor?
I'm still opposed to
You're still opposed to it, you don't have a chance to vote. All those in favor of the changes, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed?
Yeah.
All right, I'm aye as well. The ayes have it. The changes as noted are approved. That was exhausting. That didn't surprise me. We have the treasurer's bond resolution next.
What about this?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right. Okay. We had a change on the form. Sorry, folks, that was one little. It was scratched out. I think that was to do with the CIN. Is that correct, Director?
Yeah, there's no point to the if yes was the material obtained from the community library network question anymore, so I struck it. The only question is, I think, and we don't have to add it, but the green one there, if yes, was the material obtained from the minor collection? Because this speaks to the idea that there could come a day where some minor who was given permission by their parents to go through the general collection, that's on the parents. If they find a material there, then I need to know that, because that is a distinction which I think is on the parent, not on the library.
But you have that on there, though. If the next line down says, if yes, the material was the material obtained from the minor collection.
Yeah, so
That's good.
I struck the red one that was there and I added the green
Right.
one.
Gotcha. So is everyone okay with scratching the line as noted on here?
Yes.
Yes? No?
Okay, so if minors are unable to do an interlibrary loan, correct?
Minors with a general access can.
So there
Well,
might
right.
be,
Right now they can, yeah.
so there might be an occasion where they request a book that comes from outside of our library that then is determined.
Yes,
We are-
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can leave the red strike through. It's going to only be relevant in that case.
So everyone's okay with striking that line item, the way it's already amended? Yes?
Sure.
Yes, anyone opposed to that? No? Okay, it's approved, the change on there is approved. Now we can go on to the,
Actually, I have one more question
back up.
on.
Yeah,
Okay, so on second page, the paragraph towards the bottom, it says a completed form. The next sentence says if additional action is warranted. Should it say if appealed, the request for relocation of material form will be submitted?
so
Yes.
what is your suggestion, instead of action is warranted?
Yeah, if
Okay.
additional action is warranted, replace with if appealed.
So if an appeal is warranted, that's the one.
Or if appealed.
Okay. We're replacing maybe if additional action is warranted with if appeal.
Correct.
Everyone okay with that change?
Yeah, unless there's some reason it's worded this way.
I'm okay
No,
with the change.
no, no.
Director likes it?
Yeah, it's fine.
What's in additional action?
The word that says if additional action is warranted, we're crossing that out. We're saying if appealed. Now, the other exciting change is we can change the name Rochelle Addison off the bottom and we put my name in there. Library board chairman, okay. We okay with that? All right, thank you. Anyone else on this? Done.
Out to the other side of the business.
Everything passed down to plus.
You didn't get one.
I didn't get one.
No, didn't I give one her?
Okay. Okay, we're not done yet. Okay, treasurer bond resolution. Does the director want to walk me through that one or the business manager? But do we just need to get signatures on this? Is that all?
Yeah, this was drafted by the new business manager. I think it's pretty straightforward, and then it's just a question of signatures.
So one big one on the board has to sign it.
And we'll take one.
I think this is where we get, is this the $5,000 bond for the treasurer?
Yeah,
Is that
and
correct?
it is by a majority vote of the board, it says on that last line there. So adopted this day of blank by majority vote, and then you sign it.
Okay, trustee Rob, trustee Howard.
The other Robinson. I move that we adopt the approval of treasurer fund.
It's been moved, we adopt the, what's it called here? The bond, treasurer's bond,
Approval of treasurer bond.
very good. Discussion,
Is this, I don't know that it says it, but shouldn't it be per fiscal year? And we don't do this times a year. How often do we do this?
I think the bond just stays in effect while the treasurer's in this year.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I believe
Okay.
so, yeah.
All right. You okay with that? Okay, trustee Robinson.
I don't know what this is. Should I know what this is?
Without me looking back at it, my understanding is there has to be a $5,000 bond signed off, I guess, for the treasurer, in case the treasurer starts embezzling our money. I think that's what it is.
No.
Is that correct? Okay,
Yes.
that's basically,
Okay, what does that mean?
I guess, I don't know. Someone can explain it to me. Yes. Well, go ahead, treasurer. I'm sorry. This is not a church.
This is just a formality so that we have liability coverage for the treasurer, and then also for the bank, so we can add her signature so she can sign off on checks over finance.
Okay, thank you.
So the statutes.
So do we need a signature on this? Each person? Okay, what's today's date?
Separate or one?
Just usually do that during the break, but we need to vote on it
All right.
first.
Okay. Is everyone okay with approving this? Yes?
Yes.
All right, it's approved. I'll sign it now and rotate it around. What's next on here? Might be, hey, break time. It's now I'll call it 4:02, so we're reconvening at 4. Okay, that point's off.
Can I have a point of order?
Yes, I guess we can.
I don't
Even
know
though we just,
I don't know if this is one or not, but, time-wise, there's more than an hour left on the agenda, and we just have 59 minutes left. So I would really like if we could, really stick to the timeframes and maybe shave some off so we can actually get out of here when it was supposed to be over, which was actually 4:30, but it got changed yesterday to 5.
okay, well, we can look at possibility. Well, we're about a half hour behind schedule, I think, at general guess here. We can probably, if people wish to here, put the trustee job description off and put that to another meeting. It doesn't seem to be an urgent item to me. Is that acceptable?
Acceptable.
To shorten our time?
Yeah, that's fine with me. And if people could, maybe like tighten up their speeches.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Tim,
Are we trying to end before 5?
no, we're trying to not end at 6:15. So,
Well, we have no idea on this.
okay, so I think when we get down to that, that's one of the flexible ones, I think, on there. So when we get to that line, we'll either scratch it, depending on how far behind we get.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we use that extension, it's now, what's still 4:02, so we'll call it 4:03, we'll reconvene at 4:13. Okay. Thank you. The meeting is called back to order. Next item on the agenda is item number 12, which is the district office lease discussion. All right, who wants to lead it? The director wishes to, or anyone else?
Well, this is over $50,000, so this is more the purview of the board. And it's not a health benefits ongoing annual contract.
The only thing I have, one thing I did look up was a triple net. I looked up, I think that means the tenant, LES, is responsible for, I think, insurance, building maintenance, and 3 things. I forgot the other one was. Insurance, building maintenance, and something else. Otherwise, it looks to me like it's a 10-year lease. It's got a scale as to what the cost is per year, plus per month for the next 10 years. I assume everyone else has read through it or looked at it to some degree. What do we wish to discuss on it? And this, again, I'll talk about, my understanding is this is being done, we did put it in the budget. In our budget for this 2026. It is designed to get the better synergy of all headquarters or admin staff people under the same roof as opposed to being split up between Bruce Falls and Hayden. It's also to allow and accommodate future construction and renovation work at the Hayden facility, the Hayden Library, Hayden branch. because it'll free up a considerable amount of space over there for more bookshelves and more materials, more books. And then in a similar fashion, to a certain degree, it'll allow for more use of the currently admin spaces here at the Post Falls Library available to the public. That's my understanding and the reason, the rationale for this. And it looks like the start date was for February 1st. People have discussion, comment, agreement, disagreement? Where are we going with this? Trustee Austin.
So in paragraph 1.11, it says $800 per month for landlord's costs of real property taxes. And then in 10.6. I think it just says that we will be paying the property taxes, and I'm just wondering if there's a conflict there with the 800 listed in 1.11. And yeah. So is it just gonna be $800 a month for property taxes, or does it go up as property taxes?
I think that was the missing of the three things I mentioned: insurance, building maintenance, was taxes, I believe it was. And if necessary, I can't give you a technical answer if you want me to refer to counsel if he wishes to respond to that, but if not. So what specifically is your question again? Whether we're paying the taxes or not, and if the tax amount changes?
Yeah, because in 1.11, it says it's $800 per month. And then in 10.6, I think it just says property taxes.
Just the word property taxes?
Kind of,
10.6, you said?
yeah. That says tenant shall pay or cost be paid before delinquency, any and all real property taxes and assessments.
So you seeing a conflict there or not? I mean, one place specifically says what the taxes are, I suppose. First place you said 1.1?
Yeah.
The 1-1.1?
Yeah.
And the other place just says property taxes?
It does say on 5.1 that they're fixed amounts. So I don't know if that solves the question.
The fixed edition.
Yeah,
What was,
if
go ahead.
I may say, Article 5, 5.1, the rent, that's probably the most important little chart to look at. And yeah, so they fixed the addition, so even if it fluctuates, we're paying that 800 per month for the one set of 800 per month is for the fixed additions that they're doing, that they do ahead of time, the renovations. And then the others for the real property taxes and insurance and part of the triple net part.
Did you have trustee Fox? Wait, does that answer your question? You okay?
Yep.
Okay.
So for the first year, 10,685 a month times 12 months is 128,220 per year. We budgeted 132,000. Our budget just said rental lease district. So is part of the insurance line item 850 of the budget? Would that be going to this, or that's liability insurance? And then we had a line item for utilities district. I guess that kind of went past me, 19,000. Is that 764 budget line item, 19,000? How we pay the utilities on this? Or was that? You know, I'm wondering, are we gonna go over the 132,000 by the time we pay utilities and our own insurance? Fire insurance is one thing for the landlord, I guess, but we would have, I don't know if we're incurring additional insurance, all this equipment we have in that building, or if that just goes into our normal insurance policy. And they just need to get listed where it's located. If you can answer if there's other costs besides this $128,000 a year.
Yeah, so the lease line is this chart that you're looking at. So we're under the 132,000 budgeted for the first 3 years. By then we'll have to, obviously that'll be a little bit different. But the other lines that pertain to having a building that we have to take care of are in their proper places. So there's going to be utilities that we're responsible for, like snow removal, things of that nature around the building. They fall under a different budget line, the one that's appropriate to them, just like all our other buildings. So the actual 132,000 lease amount is contained in that. We're over. We have more than we need for the first 2 years for sure. I think it's pretty close in the third year. After that, that number is going to change based on their chart.
And since we're only starting this in February, we're gonna probably burn for rental lease, now 85,483. Because we don't have a full fiscal year this year, so.
Yeah.
So we should be well under, I guess, so.
Yeah, we'll have about 44,000 that we won't need. Maybe more. I have to do the math, but yeah.
But what about additional insurance? As if the utilities is the 19,000 on 764 budget, or, yeah, no, that was
760?
64 is 10,875. Was that for this building, utilities district, or was there other district utilities that was being paid for?
No, if you're saying district in the new budget, that's pertains to this building. We never really had district expenses like that. They were rolled into Post Falls or Hayden, wherever we were. But yeah, so district utilities. That's going to be this building. I know ICRIMP looked at this policy along with the council, so council could probably speak to what ICRIMP thought about insurance. But yeah, it's all been reviewed.
Other commentary, questions, discussion, on the lease? And it's a hefty price, and hopefully it's not indefinite, and we're signing off for 10 years. But, hopefully we'll make plans down the road and some way to accommodate us without spending that on an indefinite basis. Trustee Plus.
So the next page, section, or Article 6, DI, permitted uses. First line, it's permitted uses only, library, community, and related office use consistent with library network. What library, community, and related office use? So are we going to have more meeting rooms for the community to come in, or what's the community and what's the library? Are you going to have books in there? I thought this was just office space for the community library network.
Yeah, it is. I'm guessing they're just taking keywords out of the title of what we are, Community Library Network. It's basically the related office space to run the community library network. So there'll be nothing in there except staff offices. There'll be a conference room for staff. Whether we had board meetings there, I don't think we can. I think we had that conversation once, I think, and if the public go in the building, our insurance is different. So there's no public going in there because that's not the kind of insurance we're having on it. So it's just library. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the district offices for, district level staff.
I'm assuming a broader description of use as far as the landlord is concerned, even better for us. So not that we're going to use it for the community. We're going to use it for our headquarters. Any further discussion regarding lease? I assume the next step at some point is going to be to sign off on this thing. We're going to have to agree to it, but does anyone else have any further discussion on this?
If I may say one thing, just so that everyone is clear, just in case they read through the whole thing. Let's see, it's 10.5A alterations. They list in here that they will ensuring the elevator is fully functional and meets all applicable code requirements. I'm not sure why that's still in there because that's not happening. It wasn't really an elevator. It was a scissor lift that was just parked in a sort of an opening cavity area, and it would go up and down more like a dumbwaiter, but it wasn't a code, and I don't think they intended to keep it. So we had agreed earlier in this process that we didn't need it there, so that's been closed off. So that part, ensuring the elevator is fully functional and meets all applicable code requirements, is irrelevant. I'm not sure how it made it this far, but it doesn't really belong, I don't think.
What was the paragraph number, please?
It's 10.5. So Article 10.5 alterations. It's actually the very last part of that page. It's 10.5A, Roman numeral 5V, I guess.
So since there is no elevator, does it make any difference if that's just left in here instead of modifying the contract?
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. I don't think we need to do anything. I just didn't want you to read that and think, hey, where's the elevator? So I just wanted you to know that.
Okay. Nothing, doesn't much.
So what these improvements, alterations 10.5, is there, I didn't see it, but is there anything saying they're gonna be done to code? In other words, if the garage is there, do they have to do 5/8 sheetrock, and do they have to have some kind of ventilation and stuff, or we just implying that it meets code?
I can't pick the part out, but I know that I've met with the contractors. I'm just trying to.
Okay, the first sentence
yeah,
down says
comply-
applicable laws of building
Yeah.
codes and ordinances,
Yeah.
so they're gonna
third
have to.
third sentence on that page, compliance with all applicable laws, building codes and ordinances.
Further discussion? Okay, well, I guess we, Trustee Robinson.
So I'm just wondering if this did already go to council.
My understanding was, Director, has this been reviewed by council and council signed basically?
It has been
reviewed
reviewed by both councils, back and forth, and so the council, the realtor, and our council, and also ICRIMP. And
Okay, and who signs at the bottom here? Hope it's not my name.
I'm gonna guess it's the chair, but I don't know if there's a precedent for it.
So I guess I am. Okay. All right, I'll sign this at the end of the meeting. Further discussion on it? Okay, then I guess we have to vote on it, council.
I sent this latest version to Peter Smith. This is a story that, as a song I've been singing for a long time, and we consistently see, indemnification provisions and waivers of subrogation that are not, I guess would say lawful. It's not like they're a crime, but state officers who sign contracts that violate indemnification provisions could actually be charged with a misdemeanor, although I've never seen it happen. So I changed all those provisions, sent it to their counsel. They changed them back. So I sent it to Carl Eichrim's attorney. He changed them back to what I had them as. And then I sent that email to Peter Smith, their attorney, on the 11th, and haven't heard back from him. And I sent him an email yesterday and said, please advise if, you guys are okay with the draft as it's been reviewed by ICRIM's counsel as well. And so the draft you have in front of you, I believe is the latest one that I sent to Peter last week. And so, if you approve it and want to sign it, obviously it would be subject to whether they want to proceed with that one. The only issues we had in there were the indemnification provisions and the waiver of subrogation, which we can't do. So
I assume that we can vote on it. I could potentially sign it and we hold off in giving it to the landlord until that's reconciled with the other, or not.
I mean, the ball's in their court at that point. If this is something you want to proceed with, vote, approve it, and then sign it, and then if they object, then they can bring it back to the board.
Okay, so you're comfortable with it? Okay,
I'm comfortable with the draft I sent to Peter.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, trustee Robinson, for clarifying that. Trustee Plus.
We go to general discussion. I'm kind of mixed, but I know we approved this in the budget, but I'm really still kind of against doing this, at least this year. Just because it's in the budget doesn't mean we have to do it. Especially after the meeting last month, and I asked the question at Post Falls, what are you gonna, or where are you gonna put the new books we get? Well, we got lots of room and all that. Well, what are you gonna do when you move out? We'll make more meeting rooms. That we were not, ever asked, I know, by any community members to come raise their taxes to make more meeting rooms. I don't think we have a need for it yet. Maybe we do when we start getting more books, but sounds to me like we got plenty of room out here to get books. And I think in lieu of us just increasing a bunch on our healthcare, I think we'd be wise to just hold off. Wait until we have a need for it. And I don't think we have a need for it because we have plenty of space.
You know, I think part of the pending thing, I think a big piece of the director's initiative on this was because of the difficulty in working with staff in 2 or 3 different places. And there's an opportunity of a place that looks highly suitable to the library as far as the size of the facility, its availability, and location, whatever. So I think that's what I've heard from the director once. So, but I don't like spending money, I guess, forever. But please go ahead.
Yeah, so if I might say, it's important to remember that this is a domino effect. This was the first domino to fall, but the second one is about 3,800 square feet in Hayden. Post Falls has a smaller amount. I think it's like 800 square feet or something like that. But we're getting a full branch worth of space, and 90% of it's at Hayden, and that is where collection size will grow. If we're saying at Post Falls, it won't be focused on collection size. That's not to say the focus for the whole district isn't collection size. It's just that what we're working with Post Falls, the structure of it is we're only freeing up, like for example, across from where you're sitting is my office, right? My office is going to be freed up by this move, but it doesn't make sense to put collections in there because it's too far removed from the rest of the stacks, right? So there will be some office space in Post Falls which won't make any sense for stacks. It'll make more sense for public use space, you know, for study space or stuff like that. So that's the only context for those comments is that the space we're actually working with at Post Falls is very specific, right? The way it's laid out. Hayden is where the real action is going to happen, if you will, in regards to collection size, because that's the bigger chunk of the space we're recovering. And again, I just want to reiterate that we don't want to do this forever, but it would have cost us $1 million or something to build a library the size of Spirit Lake or like of this what we're freeing up is bigger than some of our smaller branches. It's bigger than probably 3 of our smaller branches. So this will be the 4th largest branch that we've been adding at the price point of a lease like this. I see the future. This isn't the future. 10 years from now, right? It might not be that. I'm hoping for maybe a Rathdrum new branch, center of Rathdrum, maybe it includes district offices. So we're not locking ourselves into a forever lease, but it's a very important step now because it eases the pressure on facilities expansion, which we will be facing certainly within a decade.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay. Is the board comfortable with approving the lease? No. All right, well, I hope we need a motion. We go with the lease? Yes, no?
I don't want to do it.
All right, trustee Plus is opposed. Others? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, okay. Well, the ayes have it. The lease is approved on our end, and I signed it, and I'll provide the council, and then we can go from there. All right, and is everyone okay with scratching agenda item number 13, trustee job description, postponing, or I think it's putting off to a future meeting. I forget what the exact words are in the Robert's rules. Are we okay with suspending that, not dealing with that today?
Yep.
Okay, and then considering time. Very good. Okay, is there anybody with response to public comment?
No.
Okay, how about future agenda items? Can you give us the council?
None for me.
Okay. So special and regular meeting dates. Okay, that's already on our agenda, basically. I don't think we have any special meetings at the moment planned. Our next regular meeting is on January 15th at 2 p.m. here at Post Falls. Anything else there? No. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B and F to convene an executive session.
So moved.
It has been moved to go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B and F. All those in favor, is there a roll call vote? Trustee Robinson,
Aye.
Bauman,
Aye.
Addison.
Aye.
Hanley, aye. Trustee, Ross.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. We're now going to executive session. And will that be turned off so you can't spy on us? Thank you.